And we have breaking news. Mitt Romney has not changed his position on Ohio's issue number 2 for 9 hours. We will update you when the events warrant. Today, Romney talked to reporters in Virginia and stood strong for issue 2 and Ohio Governor John Kasich.
I'm sorry if I created any confusion in that regard. I fully support Governor Kasich's, I think it's called Question 2 in Ohio. Fully support that. Actually, on my website, I think back as early as April, I laid out that I support Question 2 and Governor Kasich's effort to restrict collective bargaining in Ohio in the ways he's described. So I fully support that. I am 110% behind Governor Kasich and in support of that question. Thank you.
Now, let's put it in perspective. Keep in mind, that guy right there, he wants to be president of the United States. He just said the words fully support 3 times. Less than 24 hours earlier, Romney didn't sound as strong when he was actually in Ohio.
I'm not speaking about the particular ballot issues. Those are up to the people of Ohio, but I certainly support the effort of the governor to rein in the scale of government. I'm not terribly familiar with the 2 ballot initiatives, but I'm certainly supportive of the Republican Party's effort here.
Well, true conservatives have no idea where Mitt Romney stands on any issue. Rick Perry pounced on Romney last night on Fox News.
You can't be for banning guns and then all of a sudden you're, for the Second Amendment. You can't be for the issue of abortion and then you're pro-life. I mean, you can't be on both sides of these issues.
You think he's a weasel? You think he doesn't have any principles?
Perry is exploiting Romney's weakness with the base as much as possible. His best move. This Sunday, the Texas governor will have an entire hour on Fox News Sunday. Interesting. His ratings aren't very high, but he gets a full hour. Wonder who they're rooting for. Core conservatives have never trusted Mitt Romney. My next guest has been called the godfather of the conservative movement in America. He pioneered the Republican direct mail tactic and built the conservative movement which elected Ronald Reagan in 1980. And this just in, I want you to know, as maybe a new viewer to 8 o'clock, I love to bring in all sides. It's information-based. They'll have their say. I will have mine. Let's bring in Richard Viguerie, chairman of conservativehq.com. Mr. Viguerie, good to have you with us tonight. I have you on here tonight. I know I'm going to get a lot of liberal heat for this, but I know where you stand, and I know how important you are in the conservative movement in this country. Where is Mitt Romney? Does he have a chance to resurrect himself? I don't care what the poll numbers are because I know how conservatives feel about this guy, but I want to hear, could you support Mitt Romney? Is his campaign dead?
It's early yet, Ed. You ask where he is. He's at 25%, and he's been that way for 5 years. He hasn't really moved off of the mid-20s. And the reason he hasn't moved, because that's about the percent of Republicans that are not considered conservatives. About 75% of Republicans are strongly right of center, and Romney is left of center. I've got a test, Ed, that I put these candidates to. Viguerie's foolproof test to determine whether you're conservative or not, and Romney fails it miserably, and it is personnel is policy. Tell me who you walk with, I'll tell you who you are. Every time I saw Ronald Reagan in the 1970s, I saw 6 or 7, 8 of my friends, Ed Meese, Len Knopfsinger, Dick Allen, Marty Anderson, Judge Clark, Paul Laxalt. They were all around him, so it was natural when he moved into the White House, conservatives would move in with him. I challenge you to name one conservative, or anybody out there, name one conservative right now around Romney, or who has been around Romney the last 15 years. So why should we think if he's elected president that conservatives would have any say in his administration?
So how do conservatives hold the line at this point? How do you get your kind of candidate? Can Rick Perry make a comeback?
Absolutely. I think, there's some good candidates running, but I think at the end of the day, it could very well be a 2-person race between Rick Perry and Romney. And remember, Ed, something is different about the Republican primary process this year that hasn't been true for about 40 years, and that is we'll have a proportionate representation of delegates until April 1st, so that, McCain had won the nomination by March, because he was getting 35% of the vote, and the conservative vote was divided among the remaining candidates. But because he was getting 35%, others were getting less.
Yeah.
He got the nomination. That won't be the case this time.
So is Perry your guy? I mean, is he the most conservative candidate out there right now?
Oh, no. I mean, Michelle Bachmann's a fine conservative. Rick Perry, Herman Cain. There are good conservatives running out there. And Perry is, I think he's strong. I think at the end of the day, because of his money, because of his 10 years as governor of Texas, he's conservative on most all important issues. I think that it will be a two-person race, although it could expand to a few others.
Now, the two people that we're talking about are not leading in the polls. It is Herman Cain. Would you support Herman Cain? Would the conservative movement support Herman Cain?
Absolutely. We'd be thrilled with Herman. I know Herman. He's a wonderful, conservative. Absolutely. We'd be thrilled to have Herman as our nominee. But I think a lot of the other candidates have risen in the polls because Perry has had a rough, 5 or 6 weeks. If he gets his act together and he begins to move out there with a strong message for conservatives, I think a lot of that support that has drifted over to the other candidates will come back to Perry.
But for core conservatives, it is not Mitt Romney, which
not now, not ever.
Not now, not ever. What if he's the nominee?
Then we'll have to see how he comes to conservatives. Is he going to assure us he's going to govern as a principal conservative? Will he select a conservative as his vice president? Will he assure us he's going to bring mostly conservatives into his administration? Is he going to give us solid principled conservative judges?
But he flips around a lot, too. I mean, the story that we just had a moment ago from Ohio, I mean, the guy's all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. It's an interesting thing about the Republican Party. Since Richard Nixon to now, the Republican Party, with the exception of Ronald Reagan, has nominated somebody at the left end of the party, whether it was Nixon or Ford or George Bush,
those
41,
days over?
43, Bob Dole, John McCain. They're, not in sync with the base of the party. And that's a prescription for disaster, quite frankly.
All right. Mr. Viguerie, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate your take on it all.